sugar.
Ah, yes, movie tie-in games. Where the hell did these things go? It seems like they faded into insignificance after the 7th generation came to an end. I mean, at least we did get some absolute classics out of the subgenre, with titles like Harry Snotter and Fight Club.
I'm Bob. Hi. Bob. It's, testicular cancer.
Despite the mediocrity, there's always been one of these games in particular that has stuck with me for eons, and I think it has for many other horror fans out there. The Saw game. This was one of those games that felt illegal to play when I was younger. I remember spending countless hours on the 360 demos with my older cousin, where we would try to be as discreet as possible so we wouldn't get caught by our parents for playing an M-rated game. The golden days, man. They were the golden days. I decided this year that my first platinum would be on my delightful PS3 that I bloody love. I haven't booted this thing up in what feels like forever, and with regards to Saw being sat around on my backlog for years, it finally felt like the stars aligned and the time was right. So with all that said, welcome to my platinum journey on Saw the game. Where do I start, man? I haven't played this in so long, but it feels like only yesterday when I was almost too frightened to look up at the screen. This game opens up with us being thrown right into the deep end as we struggle to escape Jigsaw's first trap. This contraption in question being the jaw trap. This is essentially a reversed bear trap that is helmeted onto one's mortal skull. The voice actors' restless screams with the swelling of the music getting louder and louder is so unsettling. I kept failing at this trap over and over as I just couldn't seem to figure out what to do. Well, at least we did get a trophy for dying here. In my next attempt, I spotted the button prompts hidden in the shadows of the helmet. Already, this is so cool to me. It's not like they just slapped a big QTE indicator on the middle of the screen. They trust the player to be observant enough to learn this. I know it looks easy as I'm explaining this, but believe me, you unconsciously register this as a blinking light when you first play. I completely overlooked it. Our second trophy is for successfully escaping the jaw trap, and who else loves a good Star Wars reference?
It's a trap!
Anger's not the way of a jet.
Right, it's probably about time I addressed the elephant in the room, isn't it? This game runs like a blending machine. Honestly, what is going on here? Constant frame drops, constant screen tears, constant stuttering is all to be expected. I'm so sorry. I've got to warn you now, this game is fundamentally undercooked. It's a huge shame. So unfortunately, it's not going to look the prettiest throughout. I hope you guys don't mind. I used the keypad to escape the bathroom, and if this game gets anything right, it's the sound design, because listen to this. Atmosphere is king, and it serves as its own character. I'm glad I played with headphones. As we enter the next test room, we're introduced to the grabbing keys out of the bog minigame thing, and alongside with that, we get introduced to the floors being covered in glass, which are environmental hazards that we've got to be conscious of as well. In the first aid cabinet, I found my first health hypodermic. I love how this game only grants you with 4 health slots to recover. This emphasizes resource management and self-preservation in a way a true survival horror does. Keeps you on your toes with scarcity instead of being bombarded with healing items. Great stuff. I'm all for it. Multiple light sources can also be found in the world, and each are unique. I know it's a silly comparison, but I'm really excited to see RE9 incorporate this kind of idea. Running around with a dim lighter feels so much scarier than a reassuring flashlight that we've all grown too accustomed to. The next trophy we popped was for running into Piglet Man. I guess you could say he's this game's version of a stalker enemy. Kind of, not really though. And here is where we claim confirmation on what filthy hellhole this is that we're crawling around. You guessed it, it's an abandoned mental asylum for the insane. Venturing through the dusty hallways, I spotted Jigsaw's next trap location, but first I would have to fight my way through to gain access to the floor below. Here we go, okay, we're doing this. This game is infamous for its combat, surely it can't be that bad, man.
It's not good. It doesn't even work.
What am I supposed to say? I'm convinced this isn't even a combat system. This had to be bottom priority for the development team. I'm literally spamming every button here. No joke. This is dead ass what it feels like to fight in your dreams. Punches don't even feel like there's any collision. You kind of just have to shift your body back and forwards like you're doing a little dance and hope that the melee animations trigger. I'm not even kidding. This makes me want to brush my teeth with a cactus. After enjoying some real AAA combat, I managed to take this ugly twat out with the pipe that kills. 2 birds with 1 stone, earning us It Was an Accident and Pipe Dream. And who could forget about these things? The shotgun door traps. Jigsaw really is a handyman assembling that kind of equipment. That's some neat trick. I grabbed the key for the surgical theatre, then proceeded to rummage through some renounced notes. Turns out our protagonist here, Detective David Tapp, is a corrupt cop who is responsible for Jigsaw's current victims. Detective Tapp here has a key concealed inside of his body. Jigsaw placed said key here for the survivor's salvation. Talk about keyhole surgery, man. This explains the enemy's grim determination to kill us, and I love it. Their motivation fully makes sense and brings yet an even bigger sense of dread and urgency. I shotted up some black tar heroin like I live underneath Brighton Station for the Just Experimenting trophy. Then we embraced our inner Jill Valentine to lockpick a door. I don't know what it is with these, maybe the art direction or the circular design, but these puzzles in particular give me huge Bioshock vibes. Upon slim jimming the door, we claim forced entry and continue to explore, and hold on mate, I swear these are just the toilets from my local shopping centre. Next, we infiltrated the operating room and ran into a mini game puzzle, and oh my god, I just had Vietnam flashbacks of Sister's location.
I'm here to do special services.
My subconscious fully buried that puzzle because of the trauma it produced. This clicking sound is embedded in my hippocampus. This was like agreeing to do the Nina project. As I obtained the key for the main hallways, I stumbled into yet another recurring trap, which are these scaffold boards that bridge over deadly gaps. These sections are so memorable for me. I think it's because I could just never get across these as a kid. Guys, the artifacts in this game are absolutely terrific. I was excited every time I discovered one of these. They're really well written, like conducted in such an organic way that managed to convey very elaborate and detailed character motivations and lore. I'm impressed. It makes sense for a franchise of this caliber to have such good writing, in terms of the artifacts anyway. What doesn't make sense though is the enemy dialogue, because what the hell happened here? This is insufferable.
What's that? Is someone there? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
I finally unearthed the surgical theatre key in this labyrinth of an infirmary and commenced Jigsaw's second trap. I know for a fact that people straight up used to quit the game at this point. I think a lot of people did back in the day, to be fair. You couldn't just pick up your phone and watch a guide back then. It was all done there and then, okay? The puzzles found within this game are no joke, man. You'll see. This trap in particular is called the Detox chair. Basically, Shorty in the seat here is named Amanda. She's a druggie that relapsed, and the only logical way to pay the price in Jigsaw's eyes is to inject her with a mix of fatal substances, so we gotta make sure we can get the right drugs into her bloodstream through these chutes by turning these dials in a specific order. I'd be very surprised if someone could do this first try. At the start, everything did feel pretty arbitrary, which is frustrating. It made sense once I came to learn that every puzzle in this game has a different solution and resolve after every death/attempt, meaning this automatically makes things harder because there's no relying on pre-existing patterns through memory. Every attempt is new because there's different variations. Honestly, fair play to the developers. I don't think we ever get to see this sort of thing anymore, unless you're playing like a strictly puzzle-oriented game. I couldn't figure this out at all at first, but for some reason on my 10th attempt, I want to say, everything kind of just clicked and I popped damaged goods for saving Amanda. Look at this Dead by Daylight walking, bro. What the hell is that? The next victim we have to save is called Jennings, who happens to be located in the furnace room. Piglet Man ends up tracking us down and goes on to bestow us with the shotgun collar. This rusty necklace is now with us permanently and will detonate upon anyone else wearing one who wishes to come into our proximity. These things are horrible, man. Easily the most anxiety-inducing part of the entire game. It's honestly the controls that make this thing terrifying. Due to how clunky and broken everything is, you can't help but panic. We escaped this dude in time to explode his collar and attains kill or be killed. I managed to get executions with both the table leg and the crutch, until I eventually descended into the heart of the boiler. This is where we meet Letterbox Head, who is a manifestation of David Tapp's unresolved. Nah, I'm kidding. This guy ain't Pyramid Head. Cube Head here is just a transient mini boss that we have to get through. Did I also mention that this game's a damn troll? The shotgun tripwires serve to be just as much as a help as they are a hindrance. Obviously they're a hazard within the environment, but they're also utilisable so we can set up our own traps like Kevin McAllister. I finished box head with the Steve Harrington bat for the Sometimes It Sticks trophy. Traversing through the rest of the boiler room, I unlocked the storage door which popped us locksmith for slipping 5 doors. Look at this, you ready? Ready? Watch this, watch this. How does a hitbox like this even exist? Now I've seen some whacked out things in my time, but what is that? These trophies popped in the wrong order, but penetrated was for getting a kill with a syringe, and self-defense was for killing 10 of Jigsaw's minions. Assemble the minions! I had some fun setting up shotgun traps against the ops, and after some time we found the furnace room key. Now it's time for trap 3. I reckon Until Dawn took inspiration from this one. What a game that is, man. I need to replay that. That film was trash, by the way. Don't watch that film. It's not very good. This trap contains Jennings, who is one of Detective Tapp's partners. He ran over and killed a man whilst intoxicated and covered up his tracks by rigging evidence. Alas, Jigsaw challenges us to rescue him from the pendulum trap. This segment includes a series of gear mechanism puzzles that we have to complete as quickly as possible. The first 3 are absolutely fine, but the last set of gears stopped the cognitive pathways in my brain. I just couldn't figure out this for the life of me. In the end, I managed to figure out the puzzle by going back to front, and we granted Jennings his liberation. After completing some more environmental tests, I searched through a perished body and discovered a revolver. I was fully convinced that this game was merely only up to this point. This was a really nice surprise. It's very cookie cutter, don't get me wrong, but this thing actually packs a lot of punch. I managed to take down a bloke with long range with just 1 shot. In the graveyard, I was able to get kills with both the baseball bat and some fire from a dynamite trap. Then in this dingy room, I found a personal note from Jigsaw himself. Turns out we can actually craft our own little traps at these workstations. The 3 traps we can forge for ourselves consist of the stun trap, the explosion trap, and the gas trap. The Duress trophy was for killing 20 enemies, even though I thought it was for breaking this statue, and a few minutes later the dreaded moment arises for the next Jigsaw test. This one holds a troubled lady called Melissa, who is the wife of yet another one of Detective Tapp's partners in the police force. She expresses her feelings of disgust against Tapp as she accuses him of being the direct reason for her husband's death. Us being us and attempting to keep our integrity firmly intact, we continue to help save Melissa from the Iron Maiden trap. I'm an Iron Maiden poser. This one revolves around these sort of air hockey-like magnetic tables where we have to maneuver the cubes to a symbol. Sounds easy, looks easy, but being limited to only one direction at a time makes this thing jarring.
You alright?
You kind of have to do some mathematics to gauge where your cube will land on, which is something not in my field of expertise, believe me. It's pretty fun nonetheless. As we free Shorty, she decides to flee without us, still clinging on to her bitterness despite our good karma. This will backfire later, but for now, we're going to make our way to our next victim. Look at this dodge. That's AAA gaming. That's AAA gaming right there. I took this bloke out with a table leg as he went down with a goofy crash run death animation. And then we popped I Can't Stop Any Time for completing 20 Mrs. Clickety-clackety puzzles. We solve the Billy Puppet puzzle and enter the trap area to start our next test. The dude we find in here is Oswald. He's a journalist who wrote an article against Detective Tapp by scapegoating him as the Jigsaw killer. Our challenge here is to show our mercy by successfully completing all these electrical circuit panels within 4 minutes. Again, the first 2 are easy enough, but the last one, my god, the last one. Every time you fail, there's a different variation to decipher, like I was saying earlier, but here, it especially feels like you don't have enough time to complete this. How did people do this back in the day? Seriously. It's one of those situations where you turn one bulb on and 10 others turn off like a faulty wire in your house. This has got to be the hardest puzzle I've ever had to do in any video game. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. Like, this is a contender with OG RE3 clock puzzle, I swear down. By the skin of my teeth, I activated all circuits to disable the backbreaker. Once again, I continued to go for more kills with the multiple melee weapons here. The first one was with the scissors for the splitting headache trophy. The second was for the broom handle for the cleaning up trophy. And the mannequin arm was for the give me 5 trophy. As I struggled through another one of Jigsaw's filler tests, I managed to smoke this bloke out with the aforementioned gas trap. And walking into this thing reminded me of the first time I hit a bong at 16. I'm not even lying, I'm such a pussy of a white boy, man.
This is good shit.
I located the crematorium and was thrown into the furnace trap with a gentleman called Obi.
We taught her to grip her weapon backwards like a dildo.
This disturbed individual looks up to Jigsaw and is psychologically aroused by the pain he is able to cause to others. To rewrite this fruitcake's fate, we have to complete a series of rotating pipe puzzles. This is a little bit like the electrical circuits. They get harder as you go, but the final one is ridiculous for my little pea brain. But after a few attempts, I managed to save Obi from the human furnace. And then I was back to cycling through getting kills with melees. It's very repetitive, the trophies in this game. You know, most of them are just getting kills with melee weapons. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. So these trophies were for using the hatchet, the scalpel and the spade. I also cleaned up the trophies for getting kills with the traps. The explosion trap popped wait for the boom, and the stun trap popped whoops. The last trophy I claimed in this section was for unlocking a total of 20 doors. I continued to complete some more puzzles that felt really redundant up to this point. I landed in the theatre and approached the stage to endure my next objective, which was to rescue Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
I think we'd all be subject to Jigsaw's wrath these days because the whole reason he wants to terminate Jeff is because he's mentally depressed. Can I have a go, please? To free Jeff, we must match all the symbols to their corresponding purpose. This is my favourite game of Jiggies by far. Not too hard, not too easy, and heavily relies on memory. It feels really overwhelming when you start, but after a few goes, it's a piece of cake, and comes down to just being ballsy. This one feels a bit like a visual gamble. Again, it probably looks easier than it actually is, to be fair. I love the presentation of this one. So cool, and is very true to Saw's identity. Jeff gets released, and now it's the final act of the game. As we track down Jigsaw to his final test, we noticed Piggly Jiggly in the distance. It's time for the ultimate boss fight, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Boys. This is one of the most memorable moments I've had in gaming for years. This had me absolutely dying, bro. I need to purchase a face cam because this was a canon event in my life. I'm not even kidding. I understand now why they say laughter is like enlightenment, because this boss fight was the funniest shit I've ever experienced, bro.
Hi, how are you?
All of these hilarious elements of the game's idiosyncrasies just overlaps, and I could not contain myself. It was like the first time I watched Scary Movie 1. From the way I caught this guy off guard with these zany Home Alone-like traps, to the janky and weighty running animation, and those bloody ad-libs he'd scream out. He sounds like an 80-year-old man. Look at this as well. I wish I was filming my reaction, man. I don't know what it is, but this grossly designed break-free Q2E made me howl. I think it's the fact that this Q2E being specific to this one enemy and being introduced like 10 hours in so late into the game, it just made me cry. You just had to be there, man. And this just ended me, man. This was the cherry on the cake.
In my restless dreams.
I don't care, this is unironically the funniest game I've ever played. If you've ever had a bad week and need a game to pick yourself up, play this. I'm not kidding. This was like playing a YTP YouTube video in real time. As we make our way to the last section of the game, we get through Jigsaw's final test, which is one big mesh of all the pre-established trials and traps. It's kind of a shame, the spectacle's kinda there, but I've already rinsed and repeated through these puzzles numerous times.
They should have made the final trap the gay test trap. I totally would have fell for that one.
Hey, could be worse. You want to switch?
So at the very end of the game, we're presented with a choice. Will we choose our freedom whilst also freeing everyone else in the asylum with us? Or will we choose the truth by learning Jigsaw's true identity but simultaneously losing our humanity in the process, as we'd be keeping everyone here held captive? Our fate is entirely in our hands. I went for the least ethical thing to do here, which was choosing the latter. I was genuinely curious about this ending. How many lives has this man just destroyed, and what's the price? This is morally outrageous. As we go through the truth door, we meet the icon himself, Billy the Puppet, and he leads us out to Jigsaw's hideout. We end up cornering the serial killer on the rooftop, but it turns out that it's all a facade. The master male manipulator is always 10 steps ahead of us. This ain't Jigsaw, it's Melissa. You know Melissa from earlier? The bird who had a chip on her shoulder? Yeah, it's her. That Hellcat. I wasn't expecting this, to be fair. This playthrough ends with Melissa and Detective Tapp both succumbing to their inevitable death. It's all very bleak, but that is the cost of the truth in this game. Stay ignorant or be exiled. I loaded back into my last save so I could get the freedom ending, and there is no silver lining here either. Tapp's destiny unfortunately lends itself into this mouldy living space where he punches the air just like a toddler who's just had his iPad confiscated.
No, it's not fair.
Brother, I have sat in some dusty bandos like this myself. Jigsaw's tea house don't even look that bad, bro. To wrap things up, Tapp is confirmed to be a prisoner of Jigsaw's asylum for the foreseeable future. This leads him to unalive himself, which realistically should have held some emotional weight, but I couldn't take this seriously because of the audio file just cutting out. It just cuts out in a proper janky fashion. I can't take this seriously, you little bro. Right, so some of the trophies I missed were for triggering the curb stomping attack. Seems easy enough, but this thing has a mind of its own. It kinda reminds me of that stomping move in SH2 Remake, the one that just doesn't work half the time. I ended up going for these trophies in the start of Amanda's chapter, as they're easiest to obtain here, as you can reload saves and get it all done pretty quickly. I say quickly half-heartedly, in quotations. The problem is that this stupid knockover curb stomp mechanic thing is so hard to pull off, as you have to strike the enemy in the perfect position, leading itself to this game's clunky combat. It's not on our side, unfortunately. The save system here doesn't help either, as it has to be regulated through scripted events, if that makes sense. You can't just pause and save. I haven't even mentioned the save system yet, but it's really bad in this game. It's reliable, but there's just no clarity. Half the time, you don't know if the game's saved or not. I had to rinse and repeat this process and hope that the mechanic would actually trigger, and by some miracle, sure enough, after triggering the mechanic 5 times, I popped a Merciless for stomping 5 minions to death. All that was left for me to do was to go AFK for 5 minutes to pop the "You've Wasted Your Life" trophy. So I towered over matey, who was causing me hassle, and went downstairs for a poo-poo and made myself a cup of tea. And by the time I got back, we were golden. And that is it, my cuddies. Saw the game 100% complete, platinum acquired. Would I recommend going for this platinum? Yes. It's actually really easy and only took, I want to say, 12 hours. So if you've got a PS3, definitely go for this, because you can literally do it in one playthrough without guides if you're lucky. Also, if you're a fan of the films or just horror in general, this one's a no-brainer. I've heard rumblings of a new Saw game in development, and it turns out it's actually true. It's about time, man. I feel like they could do something amazing. There's a lot of potential there. This game in particular does have a pretty rough gameplay loop. There's quite a lot of padding, but it's fun nevertheless, and it's genuinely scary at times. And time to time, it can be absolutely hilarious. It will have you rolling on the ground with its clunky charm. That is me for today. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe and Happy New Year. Sorry it's late.